Alright, this is a drawing of a room using a single vanishing point. So it's 1 point perspective. And the way I would start this is to find first just where your eye level is based on where you're sitting or standing in the room. And I'm putting it a little above the middle of the paper, putting a horizontal line, just as we've been doing for that eye level line or horizon line, because I'm going to be looking down at these boxes and furniture that I'm drawing, and I'm looking down at some of the floor. So I'm having all those lines go up to the vanishing point at my eye level. And as far as where to put the vanishing point, I'm putting it where I'm looking in this room is I'm looking directly at this door that I have a painting hung on. And I'm looking, based on where I'm situated, I'm looking at the right side of the door. So you can see I put a horizontal line from my eye level across the paper, and it's going right through that door, and I put the vanishing point just to the right of the middle of the door. That's just based on where I'm sitting. You might be more off to the left in the room, you might be more off to the right. It's all based on where you set up. But what I do to start drawing the room is I draw some rough shapes just to divide the paper up into sections that I can manage more easily. So I have this shelving on the left where I have my palette set up, and I'm just trying to get down on the paper where it is and roughly how big it is, but the shape doesn't have to be exact first. I'm going back and lining up the angles of things to the vanishing point later with the ruler. But first I just draw a rough shape on the paper to get it down and get the size and the placement. And I did start with that central door, just a rectangle for the door that I was looking at. And I'm situated so I'm looking straight back at that wall with the door on it. I also am looking at a long table on the right with a box on it. And I lined the box up with the room so that I could draw using the single vanishing point that I already have set up. I could pretty much draw everything using that single point. I'm also going to start drawing floor lines down below coming up to that vanishing point. And the ones on the left angle over to the vanishing point from the left to the right. And then the floor lines on the right angle over from the right side of the paper to the, I guess you can think of it two ways. You can bring the lines from the bottom of the paper on the floor to the vanishing point, or you can bring the lines from the vanishing point out to the bottom of the paper to get the angles of the floor lines. But the ones, you can see the ones right in the middle, right under the vanishing point, are vertical. The ones on the left are more angled. The ones on the right are more angled. What I'm doing now with the pencil is I'm just sort of floating it over the paper and trying to get a little bit of a difference between, getting a little bit of contrast between, for instance, the wall that I'm looking at and the floor. The floor happens to be darker than the wall, so I just want to tone the floor some to make it look different than the wall. I also will come back with the eraser and pull out lights that I want. And right now I'm using a rag to move the graphite across the paper. I can get a more even tone that way, and I can soften the lines that I've made. So it's back and forth between drawing, erasing, using the rag to wipe the graphite, coming back and sharpening some lines with the pencil, erasing things to clean up at the end. You may actually want to zoom out or have a larger view of the room you're in. You could include some of the ceiling and have the ceiling lines coming down to the vanishing point as well as the floor lines coming up to the vanishing point. And you may want to include more of the sidewalls too. I'm a little bit closer to that back wall that I'm looking at. So I couldn't see the ceiling, or couldn't fit the ceiling into this drawing.